Hare Hare Bol.
Prabhupada ki jai. So I've been here, well, I've been to the Rath Yatra a few times, met the mayor. Is the same mayor still the mayor? He likes Rath Yatra. He likes to wear dhotis too.
Yeah, exactly.
He likes to get dressed up. That's nice. He may be the first mayor in America to ever wear a traditional dress for Rath Yatra. We'd have to check
He's
that.
happy to do that. Like.
He might be the first one. I think he might be the first one. So otherwise, I've been to Harrisburg a few times, but I've only actually been here since we purchased this temple, just once before. So when you come to a place and you haven't been there in a while, it's nice because you see all the improvements. So the windows were not in when I was here. I think the beams were, I don't know if they were there originally, but those, they had, I don't know.
They were there.
Yeah,
Painted
so
them.
they've been nicely painted. And the windows are spectacular, really, really beautiful. The tile floor is new, the carpet is new, the entrance is new. So it's really quite impressive, very inspiring. And I'm admiring from a distance those nice fancy chairs you have. Most ISKCON temples are designed to make sure you don't sit very long. The chairs they have are designed to make sure after a short period of time you're feeling like you have to get up. I don't know if that's part of a plan to get people to dance or somebody that thinks spiritual life is meant to be more painful, but either way, these chairs look quite special, so nice to see those. And I'm reminded, actually, there's not very many temples that have carpet. I don't know of any. However, I just was reading Shyamasundar Prabhu's book about chasing rhinoceros. Anybody read that book? If you haven't, you should get it. You should have it in your shop. It's a wonderful book. It really explains the whole aspect of the early days of Prabhupada's movement through Shyamasundar Prabhu, who helped with the whole mantra rock dance in San Francisco, opened the movement on the West Coast. Then he went with the original 6 devotees to England to start Krishna consciousness there. He's the one that made the connection with George Harrison more than anybody else. Got the manor donated, then went to India when Prabhupada went back to India, and then he was there in he went with Prabhupada to Russia. That part's not in the book yet, but it's amazing, very inspiring book, so I encourage you to get to read it. But particularly I'm reminded because in the first London temple, which was a big deal, they struggled for over a year, lived at John Lennon's place and for a long time, and Prabhupada was waiting for them to finish his temple to come. When they installed the temple, they specifically mentioned there was thick carpeting on the floor. So Prabhupada was part of that whole thing. So at least he appreciated the wonderful work that had gone into the temple. So specifically, they had carpet. So beautiful carpet he had. And I guess everybody eats downstairs.
Yes.
That's a good rule. Yeah, no eating upstairs. Right? That's good. Even my mother had carpet in one room. No food was allowed in that room. So even you're keeping up with the parampara. My mother was very knowledgeable about these things. So I was thinking that something that might be kind of nice to read, because this is a blossoming community, to take a few minutes and talk about and think about what is the focus of this community, why are we here for, what's it all about, what are we trying to achieve. And some of you may know that you actually are an organization, and as an organization you actually have bylaws, and as part of those articles of incorporation bylaws you have purposes. Now there's 5 or 6 purposes in your documents here, and those are very close to, and we're going to update those so to be directly in line with ISKCON itself has 7, which were written by Prabhupada when we first went to New York in, I think, 1966. Yeah, they became ISKCON, was first registered in 1966. So these are what Prabhupada personally approved, and you have kind of like 5.5 of these. So I thought it'd be good to look at, because we're a community, and community means communal and commune and coming together and communicating and shared purpose and shared vision. So it's important sometimes we We may think, well, I come here because the food's good, or I come here because it's nice carpet's comfortable, and there's something to do on Sundays, which it is all those things and more. We should also remind ourselves from time to time, what's the bigger purpose? We should be aware of that. Human life's meant to have a purpose. So, first, thanks for allowing me to come here, and happy Thanksgiving weekend for everyone. It's nice to know that because of the 20 or 30 or so people here in this room, there are a few happier turkeys still out there. Most people have a happy Thanksgiving. It's a very unhappy day for turkeys, but because of you, there's a few more turkeys still walking around happy. So thank you for that. So I'll read these 7 purposes. I'll read them through once, and you can just listen, and then I'll come back and talk about the first 2, because I think they're especially important. So, the 7 purposes of ISKCON, and again, 5.5 of these exactly are what you got in your mission statement. So, 1, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. That's the first purpose of our coming together here. Second, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Third, to bring the members of the society together with each other, as we're together with each other, and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is a part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. 4, just 4 more. To teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 5, to erect for the members and society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. And if I remember correctly, this is the one that's not specifically in your documents, but it's interesting because the one that you've done. You've erected a holy place, you've developed this holy place. And it really is true. You come in from the outside, we talked about, you are working on improving the outside too. When you walk in, you really get struck. It's like an oasis. I mean, you come in here, there's a real beautiful feeling in this space that you've created. So you already achieved much of that, to erect for the members and society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Sri Krishna. Okay, 2 more. To bring the members closer together. You see that theme's there a lot. Bring the members together, bring the members together. For the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. And the last one, with a view toward achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. So, these are the 7, 5.5 here, 7 broader. We're going to update those soon. But I wanted to talk about a couple of these in particular. I think they're important. And in a sense, normally in our Sunday feast talks, we talk, we read something from the Shastra, something from the Scripture. But we know that Shastra, there's Krishna's words, and then there's the words of the sadhus, and then there's the commentary of the later sadhus, and then even when we sit and have class, there's a commentary by respected members of the community, and then there's discussion among other members of the community. So also what we say, what we do, if it's in line with the parampara, is also in a sense Shastra. So this is in a sense Shastra. These are the words of Srila Prabhupada. This is our mission statement. So in that sense they are spiritual for us. So looking at this first one, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and educate all people. Which people? All people. So what's all people mean? Does that mean all the brown people? Or all the white people? Or all the black people? Or the purple people? Or the green people? All the people, right? All the American-born people?
Everybody.
All the Indian-born people? All the South American-born people? Everybody, right? Prabhupada specifically says all people. So we have to keep that in perspective. Some organizations, they may think, well, whatever, we're trying to help cats, right? There's another organization, we're working to save the whales, and somebody else is working to help, whatever, young people in the inner city. And those are all good and noble tasks, especially when it's helping people. But we have a specific mission to try to help all, not aiming all people, ultimately it's all living beings. So to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and achieve real peace and unity in the world. So real peace and unity in the world. We know if we look around the world these days, it's hardly peaceful, and there's certainly not much unity. I mean, even they talk about, politically, they say, just America alone is more splintered perhaps than it's ever been before, or at least there's definitely some sense of, separation and polarities and conflict, and in the world, so many problems, so many wars, so much ethnic strife, racial strife, religious strife, environmental problems. Just what I just heard yesterday, the pollution in Delhi, as an example, is so high. They say if you spend, I don't know if it's better the last couple of days, but a few days ago, if you were in Delhi on the street just breathing, it was equal to breathing smoking 44 cigarettes one day. You can imagine. And talking with some devotees that were there, and they said you couldn't even see. Pollution was so bad. So, an example from Delhi, certainly not the only place in the world. Beijing is another terrible place, many cities in America. But what a mess that the planet is, that we've created this. And of course, we know there's so many issues, shortages of water, so many different problems and conflicts and things like that. So here, Prabhupada's mentioned that our purpose, Harrisburg, Hare Krishna community, what's our purpose? Well, our purpose is to educate people in spiritual knowledge and to help check the imbalance of values and achieve real peace and unity in the world. That's kind of a nice mission. If you go to most companies, you say what's your mission? Our mission is to sell more Pepsi than Coca-Cola. It's like, oh, okay, it's an interesting mission. You say, what's your mission? Our mission is to make our company the most profitable construction company in central Pennsylvania. Or somebody else will say, well, our mission is whatever, and some are more sattvic and some are not so much. Somebody may have a mission to, improve the educational standards of elementary kids in a certain area. Very good, but that one's certainly on a much higher level. But here we're understanding that the Vaishnava teachings and what our community is trying to do is really understand how to adjust the imbalance in values and to get to the root cause of the problem that's there. A lot of people, they think, well, okay, there's so many problems in the world, but most of it's not enough money. We have to change the tax structure, and half of the folks will say we have to change the tax structure, give more money to the people that don't have money. The other side of the coin, at least in this country, so we have to change the tax structure, give more money to the people that have money, because they're going to generate more money, it's going to help everybody. So different ideas on that. But the Vaishnava teaching is a little different, that money is not going to solve the problem. It's valuable, it's useful, no doubt, but it can't get to the root cause. Politics can't get to the root cause. But what the real problem is mentioned here in your mission statement, is that the values are off. The values are mixed up. And it's kind of like, Prabhupada would sometimes say, if you're doing mathematics, how many students here? Raise your hand if you're still in school. 1, 2, so almost half the room. Wow, what a youth contingency you are blessed with. So if you do a math problem, let me ask you, if you're doing some kind of math problem, you look like you're probably taking advanced calculus in school. Not yet, huh? Trigonometry?
No, geometry.
Geometry, okay. So let's say you start your geometry problem, or someone else maybe is doing an algebra problem, whatever. If you start out in the very beginning and you figure 2 + 2 = 5, how's the rest of your fancy geometrical analysis going to be?
It's going to be wrong.
It's going to be wrong, right? Because your basic principle is wrong. You might have 15 pages of very sophisticated and completely accurate calculations, but if you started with 2 + 2 = 5, it's not going to work, right? Or let's say somebody goes into the kitchen and they're going to make kheer, they're going to make sweet rice. And hopefully it's never happened here, but it happens sometimes in other places. The cook, without looking very carefully, goes and gets the milk and gets the rice and starts boiling everything. And then without looking, picks up what they think is 8 cups of sugar, but actually it's salt, and puts it in the milk. And then adds the rice and all that. And how's the cure going to be? You'd probably die if you had to drink any of that, right? It would be absolutely horrible. Now, the milk was right, the rice was right, the heat was right, everything was, they just had this one little thing wrong, and big problem. So this is the analysis given by Acharyas that 2 + 2 = 5. When the basic analysis is wrong, then everything else becomes wrong. So in the wider world, to one degree or the other, people are generally thinking the goal of life, progress in life, is, probably use this term, sense gratification, to satisfy the demands, the needs, the aspirations of my body and my mind, which are described in the Gita. They're like external things for who we really are. So the modern world is working very, very hard to satisfy the different desires, whatever, let's say. Some of the young people, I won't embarrass you by trying to name any new singers, because if I did, I'd probably pick somebody that died 10 years ago thinking they're modern singers. But there may be so many different, usually young people who sing, and say like the new woman music star, she wears like a certain shoe on stage, and the next day that company sells 300,000 pair of those shoes, right? Or she does something to her hair, or he wears a certain kind of like country music, right? If he changes his kind of cowboy hat, all of a sudden that's the hat everybody has to have. So people follow these different kind of role models, and in a similar way, generally people just kind of thinking, more or less without thinking, that, well, I just have to get all the neat stuff out there. Like the other day was Black Friday, right, a couple of days ago, and we know in America, right, they say now it's fading a little bit, but generally, people go and they camp out outside of the Best Buy or the Home Depot or for like a week. Sometimes they camp out, waiting. They don't go to work for a week to get a deal on the new TV set or something like that. But then what happens, unfortunately, you get the TV set home, and within a short period of time, you realize that actually this remote isn't as fancy as what I thought it was going to be. Or, you sit and watch, like they talk these days, people, you binge on watching your favorite movies for 2 days in a row, until you're just so sick of it you can't stand it, whether you do something else. So the Vaishnava tradition, our mission here, we ask the question, well, if it's so exciting to sit and like binge watch TV, then after 3 days you should just be excited to do another 3 days because it's just so good. And then why not 9? Why not 12? Why not 15? But we see something's wrong because it really doesn't satisfy people's hearts. So, and therefore in society, there's a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. I know like in rural areas, like this is kind of a semi-rural area, big epidemic. I think they say 50,000 people last year died from opioid overdose in America. Pain pills. So some of that, it's a very complicated thing, but the bigger question, without getting into too much detail, the bigger question is, how is it so many people can become addicted to pain pills? What is driving them to take shelter of pain pills? Sometimes it's like a legitimate physical ailment, disease, an accident, things like that, but then people get addicted to these things. Why do they get addicted to pain pills? What are they looking for? They're looking for some kind of happiness, some kind of peacefulness, some kind of pleasure. But the Vaishnava commentaries tell us that, it can't be had through sense gratification. So therefore, this mission of our community is to help people understand, hey, these things can't really satisfy us. We need to change the value. And some of those values are also explained here. Simple living. This is part of our mission, to live and to share with people that actually if you live more simply, you'll be more peaceful. I'm sure you've all seen people like that at work or at school. It's kind of like the more they have, the more their minds are disturbed. The more they have, their minds disturbed. There's a famous quote from the original Rockefeller, I think John D. Rockefeller, I might have heard me mention this before. They asked him one time, he was like Bill Gates of his era, just unlimitedly wealthy, and owned all the oil fields and refineries. And they asked him, how much money do you need? How much money is enough? And he thought about it for a minute. He said, just a little bit more. It's a trick of the mind, you know. You got $100, you want 2. You got 200, you want 1,000. You got 1,000, you want 5. You got 5, you want 10. I don't know the differences, but whatever it is. You get a Corolla, you want a Camry. Is that the right hierarchy there? You know, you get a Camry, you want a Lexus. You get a Lexus, you want whatever BMW, you want a Mercedes, and you know, and the mind's never satisfied. You know, you got $1 billion and 2 wives. You want a 3rd one, and now you want to be the president, and you're still angry and frustrated. Whatever the politics are, our current leader obviously is a very angry and frustrated person. He just breathes that. So, you know, the thoughtful person thinks, well, gosh, if you're the most important and influential, powerful man in the world, you'd think you'd be like a little more peaceful or satisfied. You know, and again, it doesn't matter which party this and that. We just see so many examples of people like that. So, our mission, our community is trying to help educate people about not just a faith or a ritual, but actually a process. Because people might say, well, okay, nice idea, nice theory, let everybody be happy and peaceful, and you know, sounds good. It's like, sometimes they say like goody two-shoes. But we make this claim, you all make this claim through your mission, that it's not just some sentiment, it's not a theory, but there's actually a process that people can experience this. And that's what's described again, this first purpose, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge at large. So we make this claim, you make this claim, our purposes make this claim, that if people become educated in spiritual life, if they become educated in spiritual techniques, if they understand and develop a little bit of a consciousness of Krishna, by the process of bhakti yoga, by the 9 processes are given, by hearing, by chanting, by eating sanctified foods, by associating with spiritual people, etc., that actually our mind becomes calmer, our heart becomes inspired, and people actually can become happy. So this is kind of like a bold claim. Like you drive down the street, there's so many, you have more billboards. I think in Maryland we might have laws against billboards, I'm not sure. Because when you drive to Pennsylvania, my gosh, there's billboards everywhere. And they're all making claims. Buy this, eat this, go here, gamble at this place. Then you go by the billboard that says, if you're addicted to gambling, call this number. And then there's another one that says, gamble here. And there's another one that says, if you're addicted to gambling. So many billboards advertise, hey, try this, try that. You know, if you want to listen to the news, you can hardly hear anything in the midst of like all of the advertisements. You pick up the newspaper online, they bombard you. Right? It's all online now, so you just try to like find out, you know, what happened yesterday. And then somebody out there remembers that you bought socks from this place a year and a half ago, and they bombard you with socks ads, right? Then they give you a choice. After, if you listen to this for 15 seconds, you can turn it off. You have to sit there 14, 13, well, it's invading your brain. Yeah? So they're pushing all these different kind of things. But people's, we see, you know, it's not making people satisfied. So we make this bold claim that actually, to be happy, to be satisfied, to be peaceful, we need to connect with Krishna. And why? Well, Krishna described the all-attractive person. Everybody's attracted. Like if we heard, I won't embarrass you guys by asking who's your favorite musician, but if she or he, you heard suddenly that she's in town and she's giving a concert like, and it's free for the next 50 teenagers to get there in half an hour, there would be like a stampede. Isn't it? Because people think, wow, this is going to be exciting. My sister, actually, in her day, she went to hear the Beatles perform years ago. Those of you that are over 40 know what the Beatles were. And she passed away last year. Remember, she always used to tell me from time to time how she had a friend. Her friend's father actually owned the auditorium. And her friend told her, come with me, I'm going to go meet the Beatles. And she thought, that's ridiculous. You're not going to go meet the Beatles. And then her friend went and met the Beatles and came back and showed her a picture or something. And I think she lamented that for the rest of her life. Of course, if she met the Beatles, I'm sure that would have been a letdown too, one way or the other. But anyway, people have these different kind of ideas. But we're in a state of Krishna is an all-attractive person. They want to meet the Beatles, or they want to meet the big teen throb musician because they're handsome, or they're pretty, or they're famous, or they're a great singer. So the Vedas make this claim that actually Krishna is the most beautiful person. He's the all-attractive person. He's actually our best friend. He's the most amazing musician. He's the most amazing poet. He's the strongest. He's the most intelligent, all-attractive person. So we're trying to do different things in this world, and we always, those that are thoughtful, those that are honest, acknowledge it, but it always comes up a little short. It's never quite enough. There's always a sense that it's not quite enough. So that's because our community says we're all looking for Krishna. I remember when I very first visited Hare Krishna temple, like 1974 or 5 maybe. And I remember I went in and was talking with some of the devotees, and this one person told me, he said, we're all looking for Krishna. It just kind of struck me, because I very much had the sense I'm looking for something. You know, maybe I have to get the right girlfriend, or the right wife, or I have to get the right education, or get the right job, or get the right car, or get the right house. But I was starting to realize that those things don't seem to add up. And when they said, actually, you're looking for Krishna, I thought, wow, you know, who's this Krishna? Tell me about Krishna. Why Krishna? So I would just end this part of the talk. We'll open for some questions. Encourage all of us, all of you, to look closely at these purposes that you've chosen. Just like you can see from the devotion in this community, this beautiful space has manifested, and it will continue to manifest and increase and attract more and more people. Because you had a vision of Krishna and an inspiration towards Krishna. So therefore, so much beauty has come. So in the same way, if we take this mission into our heart, and we'll see that actually it's the best thing for me, and it's the best thing for my family, it's the best thing for my friends, and it's the best thing for the world. That's why it says to propagate spiritual knowledge. It's not just a question of, okay, we like these rituals, or we like this food, you know, whatever we're born in, you know, maybe those are from Indian origin, you know, we like spicy food. We like to come here because the food tastes good. That's not why we're here. You know, we can eat Italian food or whatever, Nigerian food, or, you know, as long as it's vegetarian. We're offered to Krishna love and devotion. So the culture is not the reason we're here. The ritual, we have different kind of rituals. It's not just a question of faith. You know, I have faith here. You know, God's here, but He's not over there. He's in this place, but He's not in the church. He's not in the cathedral. He's not in the mosque. He's not in the synagogue. He's all those places. Trying to help people awaken their relationship with Him. The reason we're here, these purposes help us, because there's a science, there's a process of actually awakening and realizing, re-spiritualizing our own lives and the world around us. And we know that Srila Prabhupada, for one, took that mission really seriously. He crossed the ocean. He underwent so many difficulties. He was 70 years of age, and then he traveled around the world 11 times, you know, till it was in his early 80s. Really pushed himself. Why? So that there'd be a temple in Harrisburg, so that we could come here and hear about Krishna together. And if Prabhupada hadn't taken this mission seriously, there wouldn't be a temple in Harrisburg. We'd all be doing, you know, different kind of things. But because he took it seriously, our lives have been changed. And in the same way, we should study this. We should think about it. We should think about what it means to us. We should study. We should see the world around us and see many ways there's a lot of good things going on. We can bring those into our lives. In many ways there's a lot of really not good things and some very bad things going on. And we consciously choose to separate ourselves from those things and not get involved in those things. And as Prabhupada said, beautiful quote, he said at least once, and many times, he said we should just become Krishna conscious. He said, and enjoy life with a thrill at every moment. So this is actually people looking for. Everybody's looking to like enjoy life with, you know, have thrilling life, and every day's exciting, and you get up and it's, wow, we get to go to work today. Wow, I'm going to go home. My wife made a special dinner, fantastic, or my husband's on the way home, or my wife's on the way home, or wow, we get to go to school today, or, you know, people are looking for that. Wow, I went to the mall and I bought all kinds of stuff. And then we know people get home and they wear it for a couple of days and then they put it in the closet and then it's not so nice anymore. And then it's like, what's the next thing, the next thing? I promise to be, if we awaken our love for Krishna, then we can enjoy life with a thrill at every moment and not be affected. We may be externally, we may have a lot of money or not, it doesn't matter. We may be famous or not, it doesn't really matter. We may be very, very healthy and strong, or sometimes maybe we're not. It doesn't really matter. We may be super popular with the other kids at school, we may not. It doesn't really matter because our happiness, our inner experience and relationship with Krishna is what we depend upon, what satisfies us. So that's what we're aspiring for, and that's what our mission is, and I applaud all of you for taking part in that, and ask everybody to continue to try to understand it more clearly and take it more seriously and try to share with as many people as possible. Because if Prabhupada hadn't shared it, where would we be? And as he said, the only thing I ask for you to repay me for the gift I brought you is that you try to give it to others as best we can. Okay, so I'll stop there. Got a little bit of an announcement in a few minutes more about our relationship, long-term relationship with the temple and ISKCON. But maybe just on this topic, any questions or comments about this or anything else at all? Sometimes I don't get a lot of questions, but I'm determined tonight to just sit and wait till we get questions. If you were sitting on a cold tile floor, I wouldn't torture you that way. But since it's a nice, cushy, warm carpet, we'll put you in the text. Yes, Prabhu.
How did you come to ISKCON?
How did I come to ISKCON? Oh, that's such a usable expression. That's a cop-out of a question.
Nobody's asking questions, so I thought that
Let's see if there's another one. If not, I'll come back to that one.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe everybody can tell me your names too, because I'm really bad with names, and so I'm a newcomer again, and you are?
My name is Matt, and this is my first time here.
Your very first time?
Yes.
Really?
And I appreciate everyone's welcome here, and it's been a very nice experience. And my thought was around the concept of discontentment and always craving more and more, and kind of never having enough. But I also find that in that desire for more, that's also kind of part of our evolution. And it's kind of what calls us forth in creating new things, maybe creating this place and, wanting to go out and maybe serve more. But I find that there's a balance between that contentment and also that desire for more. It seems
That's
to
a
serve
really
us.
good point. That's a very good point. Thanks for bringing that out. That there needs to be a balance between our contentment and, as you said, our desire for more. Yeah, thanks for doing it, because I should correct my explanation more. We practice this process called Bhakti Yoga, which is devotion of love, and we say Bhakti or devotional service, that we're very active. Our form of meditation, our devotional practice is very active. So there are some Eastern traditions, some yoga teachings that kind of say you should withdraw from the world. That's not us. What we say is we should change our consciousness and remain very much active in the world, but to learn to do so in a way that we're doing it in the spirit of giving and not a spirit of taking. So the more would be to learn to not want more for me or my clan, but to want more that's ultimately beneficial for everyone. So in other words, we would say, okay, let's say we wanted to create this beautiful space, this spiritual space. As a spiritual principle, we believe if it's spiritually connected to God, then kind of lack of a better word, the proof of that is going to be good for me, good for my family, good for my friends, good for my neighbors, good for the world. And that to whatever extent it's just kind of about me, it's not going to have that long range. So yeah, we would say be active, but purify the purpose of the activity.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. That's a wonderful question. Thank you. You sure it's your first time? I think it took me a couple of years to ask questions like that. So, yeah. Anybody else have a question? Anybody else here for the first time want to stump me with an even tougher question? Any of the youth? Anybody under, let's see, youth. Okay, judging my age. Anybody under 59? You have a question, or you're under 59? So then you have a question?
I'm busy also, so
Yes, Guru.
Vinod, should we apply Krishna consciousness at our workplace, or to what extent we can apply? Like sometimes we really see that people are doing their own stuff, or sometimes they are taking your stuff away, or like things that some politics going on, things like that. So should we remain quiet and let it go, or should we
Yeah, that's a big question. In essence, how do we apply Krishna consciousness in the workplace? Right? Well, of course, the first thing we understand is this world, our scriptures tell us, is a place for those souls who chose to be rebellious to God. So we don't expect everybody to be a saint. That's the first thing. We're trying to become spiritual people, saintly people, good people, but we don't expect everybody else. We hope they will. We want to help bring them out of them, but we don't expect it. And we also know that as we were saying with Matt, that ours is a practical yoga, so we don't retreat to the forest, but we have jobs and families and go to school and all that. So we interact with the world. So sometimes in our occupations we may find ourselves in a place where there's a lot of very good, or we would say sattvic, sometimes spiritually focused activities, sometimes not. Sometimes it's politics, it's everybody for himself, dog eat dog, stab a knife in your back, and all those kind of things. So, I mean, a lot can be said in this. But one thing is, we have to be clear who we are and who we want to be. And sometimes that also means you have to make decisions. Like, for instance, some of us may literally find ourselves in a position where if you want the promotion, you may have to do things that you find morally reprehensible. Okay? I mean, these days the big thing, it's such a horrible thing, all this exposure about, men in power positions, whether it's in politics or the university or in Hollywood or whatever, exploiting women. Okay? That's a really gross manifestation of power differential. But there's, in kind of like a similar way, we have to have a sense of what are my principles and where can I bend a little bit, where can't I? And sometimes we have to be able to say, I won't do that, or I can't do that, I won't work in this particular environment. But in terms of the kind of day-to-day stuff that we come up against, I think the first thing is to try to be an example. Like there's a lot of politics in the office to try to, chant nicely, focus your mind before you go to work, and don't come down to that level. And a certain percentage of people are going to start to notice, why don't you get involved in this? You just finished that project, and she just claimed all the credit in front of the boss, and you didn't say anything. Well, why didn't you do that? Now, if she does something to, take away your job unfairly, and, you can't feed your family, hey, you got to stand up for yourself. But, things other than that, it's like, I'm not going to get involved with tearing them down. Or if there's a little petty jealousy, I'm going to tolerate that. I'm just going to be a good employee, do my job, take care of my, my responsibilities, and not be affected. So that's a big part of it. You just have to be determined, and then you become the example. You become the example. And at least some people are going to benefit that. In certain environments, maybe not. Maybe eventually Krishna moves you to another place. But in most environments, you can become the example. People start to respect that. And I give an example. I have a young devotee friend who did his medical school in some island in the Bahamas or something. And he told me this was a place that was kind of like Las Vegas in the sea, and it happened to have a medical college. And he said he would have really, really struggled, but what saved him, he had a very close, if I remember, I may not get all the denominations right, Catholic friend, Muslim friend, I think Sikh friend, and maybe a Jewish friend. And each one of them was like committed to certain things, like the Muslim, like he's not going to drink no matter what. And I think the Sikh, not going to eat meat no matter what. And the Catholic, it was a Catholic girl, no wild parties no matter what, and like that. The Muslim, strict, going to do my prayers every day. And he said that group formed this little kind of sangha, even from different traditions. They gave each other the strength. So, they would say to each other, you can't go to that party, Good Catholic girls don't go to a party like that. And, you're a Sikh guy, what are you doing? You can't do that. Or hey, aren't you supposed to go change your prayers now? Or hey, you're a Vaishnava, there's onions in it, don't eat that. Maybe they're eating onions, so they reinforced each other. So in the same way in a work environment, look for those one or two people that may be there that are a little more pious, and let that become more of your association. And you can try to bring a little Krishna into the office whenever you can. You bring your prasadam cookies sometimes, and whatever, you have a little picture of Krishna on your desk. Broadcast it. Hey, I'm a Hare Krishna. I don't eat meat. You guys are all rascals. You don't need that. But you set an example, and people start asking, hey, what is that? I noticed you seem a couple days a week during lunch, you seem to read that book. What is that book you're reading all the time? Is that Buddhist? No, it's not actually Buddhist, but similar teachings. Why are you interested in these things? Or what's that funny food you eat? Hey, I'll bring you some tomorrow. Don't bring them like bitter melon subji. Bring them some pizza from home and heat it up in the microwave. Show them that, vegetarians eat pizza too. I had to go to an event the other day. It was like at a hotel thing, so I had to order a special vegetarian meal. And they brought it out. It was like, first it was a mushroom. I told them, I don't eat mushrooms, but the big mushroom. Boiled carrots, boiled something else, and boiled something. I told everybody at the table, I said, this is why I don't like going to these things. Because people look at that and think I could never be a vegetarian. I said, this is not what we eat. We do not eat boiled carrots. This is not vegetarian. Cost me $150 to go to this event. This is not what vegetarians would eat for $150. Forget it. So you set an example. Show, like our principle, like the Gita, higher taste. Try to show people higher taste. And chant really well to get the strength to tolerate those things. A lot can be said about that. It's just a few thoughts. Okay?
Thanks.
Okay. And 2-minute response to your question. I was, I graduated high school in 1972. I took a religion class, although I had no interest in religion because a lot of my friends were in that class. So I transferred into the class. And suddenly, for the one of which stuck with me, with Lord Jesus talks about that the seeds of knowledge, at least I understood it to be knowledge, seeds are thrown, like somebody might throw seeds into a field to plant grass or plant, crops. And then some seeds fall in the fertile ground and they grow. And some seeds fall in the gravel where the birds come and eat them up. And some seeds fall on the side where they get choked up by weeds. And I just had this profound sense that he was talking about the opportunity for spiritual life. The seed is planted everywhere. Everybody gets a chance. And it's up to us, as he also gets it, knock and the door shall be open. Do we open the door? Do we look further? Or do we say, no thanks? Like sometimes we go out and distribute books and things like that. Sometimes you offer somebody a Bhagavad Gita and they go, oh, interesting, what's this book saying? And other times like, no, I don't want to read that. I know what that book's going to tell me. That book's going to tell me that when I buy a Harley Davidson, it's not going to make me happy, but I know when I get a Harley Davidson, I'm going to be happy. So, they don't want to hear. So, a few things like that kind of scared me, in a philosophically profound way. So I quit college, traveled around the country, visited a whole bunch of different spiritual retreats, and moved into the Hare Krishna temple. And the night I did, I took a vow. I said, Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, Lord Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Yahweh, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. I'm not sure how to find you, but I'm convinced the purpose of life is to try to connect with you. So I'm here trying to give my life to you. And if this isn't what you want me to do, please show me something better. But I'm not going to go back. Because I know that all the parties and the girlfriends and the money and the ski trips and the cars wasn't enough. And they're okay, Bhakti Yoga, you can use those things in your life, but they're not sufficient without God. So, if you want me to do something else, show me. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to follow this practice. So that was 42 years ago. So, and the prasadam continues to get tastier, and the floors of the temples continue to improve, and the devotees continue to be nicer and nicer people. So why go anywhere else? So
Haribo!
Beautiful story. And then I went to India and met Srila Prabhupada. There were a lot of devotees at that time, so you didn't get a lot of personal association. But I met Srila Prabhupada in 1976 and was able to take initiation in Vrindavan, and then kind of kept going. So that's my little story. Sometime you might have an event at the temple. It's kind of fun, actually. Break into little groups, just like threes, and everybody tell your story for 10 minutes. How did I come to Krishna? It's a great way to kind of connect with everybody, or what's because sometimes we even as devotees, sometimes we kind of take things a little superficially. How are you? I'm fine. Haribo. How's the kids? They're great. How's the week? Fantastic. Okay, see you next week. But we should also try to take some time to deepen our interpersonal relationships more. And sometimes it is by those kind of questions and discussions. And my experience in traveling all around the world is every person I meet who's spiritually inclined has a really fascinating story. Like I bet if we had time to sit and talk to Matt, how the heck did you find yourself in a little Hare Krishna temple in the middle of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on Sunday night after Thanksgiving, wearing red socks and sitting on the floor? I mean, he's probably got, quite an amazing story. Maybe we can hear a little of that later. Or, everybody here, how is it? And it's also nice too because it kind of helps us go deeper when we think about how we got here. Why I'm here, where I'm trying to go. It helps us go deeper, So, okay, so maybe just a couple of announcements if I can. Just kind of as the put on my official hat for a minute. So just mention everybody.